of headlines coming out of the Supreme Court about the role of judges in this country. Earlier this week, we explored the question, why are judicial impeachments so rare? Here's that discussion. With the Supreme Court rendering severe blows this past week to those judges in America who deem themselves kings, one conversation deserves some revisiting. Why do these judges seem to become more and more brazen about their political leanings? The answer for decades has always been found in the fact that the judiciary branch was always viewed with a hallowed lens. There was always the element of the untouchable, starting with the fact that federal judges are constitutionally appointed for life. They are impervious to the political winds of each generation, which was at first deemed a good thing, thereby creating what the founders envisioned, a more fair and judicious third branch. But with President Trump in office, more of these federal judges seem to have deemed themselves kings in robes. We talk about that a lot on this show. Overruling key portions of President Trump's agenda by way of, quote, nationwide injunctions and other such wide, sweeping powers. The only real remedy America has against judicial tyranny is the process of impeachment, as laid out in our U.S. Constitution. However, there is a strong mythology attached to the impeachment of judges, starting with the fact that we've only ever impeached about 7 judges in all of U.S. history. Graham Peterson, a graduate of George Mason's Scalia School of Law, explodes the myth surrounding the impeachment of judges in a paper published earlier this spring. It's gaining some traction. He calls impeachment the chemotherapy of checks and balances, perfectly within Congress's powers. He joins us now. Graham, it's so good to see you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for this paper. What a refreshing read.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate that.
Graham, most people believe federal judges can only be impeached if they have committed crimes like bribery or perjury.
Right.
And
right.
You rightly point out that this is dead wrong. But why do we culturally get this wrong, and for so long?
Well, one of the main sources in my paper came from a book by a scholar out at Indiana, Charles J. And he wrote a book about how impeachment sort of abated or waned over time. It really started kind of everybody came out guns blazing right after the founding. There were 2 judicial impeachments during Jefferson's administration. It was the 3rd presidency. And then there was another in the last successful impeachment in the House came in the early 20th century, and then things just kind of died. So I think it just kind of got lost to historical memory. And the idea of the judicial supremacist idea that we just always have to do what judges say, regardless how lawless the order, started to take over in the 20th century. So you just got kind of one of these lacunas and these holes in there's an ideological consensus around this idea. It was kind of bipartisan, and that's been really hard to pierce.
But yes, and you point out how, the Constitution's impeachment clause and good behavior clause, which is also a widely misunderstood term.
Right.
These were all meant to check judicial overreach. But we're now, it seems like, politically in a culture where, quote, judicial overreach, at least to one party, is a thing that does not even exist. In fact, if you start talking about that, you're going to be labeled as, firmly in one camp over the other politically. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so it's become kind of this extremist position, I think, wrongly. There are certain, it's not common, and I don't think we should be running around disbarring lawyers, firing judges, politicizing the judiciary. I don't think anybody disagrees that that's a bad thing.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.